Welcome back to the Good Advice Podcast today. You've come to the right place to learn how to do business better. And we're going to talk a little bit. It's been a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about AI today. And are we living in an AI bubble? And what do you need to know about it? We'll be back very quickly to talk more about this. But before we do, here's a quick ad from one of the businesses that sponsored today's episode. Check this out, and we'll be right back soon. So the thing that I love most in my life is being a dad. Seriously, I love being a dad. I love having my 5-year-old. I got a 3-year-old, and we just welcomed a new baby to our family. I don't know if saying that makes it sound like I picked them up from the store. We had a baby a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, what blows my mind is just how quick it all goes. I mean, I can think about my 5-year-old as a toddler. I can think about her crawling across the floor, and just last week, she was razzing me. She was giving me a hard time and teasing me, and I thought, who is this 5-year-old? What's going on here? Now, one of the things that's also true about me is I've never been very good at keeping track of some of the most special, treasured memories with my kids. I have like their ultrasound pictures that are just like stuffed in a drawer somewhere. And I also have these like random notes that I've taken from here or there of just like special memories in the day. Well, I was totally floored when I came across DuncanandStone.com and the incredible premium journals that they've put together for dads just like me. And not just dads, but moms, grandparents, anybody who's looking to keep track and capture those truly special memories. They have a journal for you. I personally like the Childhood Memory Book, and I'm also eyeing the Dear Daughter Notebook so that I can capture some of the most fun, special memories with my daughter, and then I can give that to her when she's older. But check out the website, and chances are there's a journal for you and a great opportunity to keep track of some of those most special memories in your life with your loved ones. Go to DuncanandStone.com, and if you use the coupon code GOODADVICE, you're actually going to save 20% on their journals. Again, use the coupon code GOODADVICE to save 20% on their journals. That's at DuncanandStone.com. So this is an interesting episode today. It's a follow-up from the previous episode called Have a Side Hustle. I'm looking at the state of the economy. I'm looking at what's going on out there, and I cannot stress enough how my gut was to say how bad it is. I can't stress enough to say how bad it is, but I don't want to say that. I don't want to dig into that. You know, there's plenty of media out there that is doom and gloom, and there is hope for your business. There's hope for you to make enough and make it out there. And I feel very confident in my business. My business is going very well. The marketing business is doing very well. And so I feel good about all of that stuff. However, I want to talk about what's really happening, what's happening in the AI world, what's happening in the job market, so that you can be aware. And if you're waiting on the sidelines to get into the world of business, maybe you got a little side hustle you've been thinking about, I want to follow up the last episode and encourage you today to get that started, because it's not looking good from an opportunity standpoint for those of us who are still working in a 9-to-5 job. So I want to talk a little bit, back in, 2022, 2023, when ChatGPT came out, took the world by storm. People were amazed. There has now been some competitors that have popped up. You have Gemini, you have Claude, which I think Claude is mostly coding related. Perplexity. I mean, there's so many variations even within these AI platforms. Sora, Veo. I mean, there's so many things out there. And whenever AI first came to be, there was so much chatter about it's going to do all the mundane tasks for us. It's going to give us back our time. It's going to be amazing. It's the new beginning. It's amazing. And earlier today, someone sent me a video of basically it looked incredibly real. It was from Sora, and it was some meme video. And I thought, okay, well, this is not quite what they led with in the PowerPoint presentation on all the things that AI was going to do to change the world. I'll also add that we have Amazon just let go 14,000 people this last week. UPS let go 40,000 employees. I mean, we've seen massive layoffs, almost 1 million people in tech since last year have been let go as companies paved the way for AI. We saw this also with Duolingo, where Duolingo let go many of their contract employees and said, we're relying on AI to do most of our work now. We saw the same thing with Fiverr, with the CEO saying, hey, you're going to lose your jobs. AI is the new thing. You better be aware of how to use it, how to work with it. And I don't think necessarily in a vacuum these things are untrue. AI is pretty incredible for some of the things that it can do for you. And it absolutely is to your advantage to understand a little bit about it and how to navigate it. Just like with social media, when social media became the hot thing, if you were to tell your boss, I don't know anything about social media, you probably would be knocked down a peg compared to a peer who's like, I know everything about this. I've been looking, even if your expertise has nothing to do with it back in the day. Similarly, I have friends who are in the corporate world who've told me that they have to report on their AI usage. They have to report on how they're using AI to improve their own systems and processes. And we have companies that they've understood the deep value for their bottom line by using AI to replace their personnel, to replace the processes that they're using. And we've seen some companies even come back and say, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have let go so many people. I was reading about a sales company today that fired their customer success managers, their account managers. These are sometimes salespeople. A lot of times they're people who just manage an account, make sure the customer's happy. They handle a lot of the communication and are really like the go person for a customer internal for the company. And I read about a company that they fired all their customer success managers and they replaced them with AI. And now you can do AI chatbots. And, it is essentially a more technical version of, please press 1 to speak to, and you kind of press through the buttons and you're like, can I just talk to somebody? Like, what's, 000. And you're just trying to get a hold of somebody, right? Well, this company in particular, it fired all their people. They went to AI. And the customers were very unhappy. And so now they're trying to hire back some CSMs and get people back into the business because they've overindulged in AI. I bring this up because today Jerome Powell pointed out that job creation in the last year is almost a net zero. That many jobs, that positions that are being filled are either actually, I don't want to misspeak. Let me pull up this article here. Point being, job creation is almost zero. It's not like COVID, where if you remember in COVID, there was a big tech boom. We saw many tech companies. I mean, a great example here would be Zoom. Imagine the number of people who were hired by Zoom back in that 2020 digital boom. We saw many SaaS companies that really grew as well. And in a similar way, we have companies that are really pushing with AI. Now, I feel like I have to always give the disclaimer of this is not an anti-AI podcast, but it probably would be fair to say it's anti how most people perceive AI, or at least how most people are talking about AI. I don't think AI is here to save the world. I don't think it's here to have a net positive on our world. So far, I have seen it used for slop content, BS content. I've seen it used in a way to legitimately harm people, abuse people, and represent the worst parts of us. And I think, for example, with that, people who are using AI to fake videos, to fake things that are harmful to our society, that reinforce stereotypes. I have yet to see AI used in a powerfully positive way. We're using it internally for data analytics. That's really the main usage on our end. We use it for data analytics. We use it in two places. We use it for data analytics. It's very good and very quick at analyzing data. But even then, excuse me, even then, it's not perfect. There have been so many times, and I have to educate my team on knowing the information, knowing the data, because almost every time we use ChatGPT lies. So for example, like SEO data, if we're looking at where a company is ranking, and maybe it's ranking in Tulsa, Oklahoma, maybe it's ranking in Chicago, Illinois, maybe it's ranking in St. Louis. So we'll tell it, hey, remove these entries that list a location that is not in Arkansas. Sure enough, you'll look at that list. It will say, got it. We've removed all of the address or all the state mentions, all the ones that have a state that is not Arkansas. And then you look at the data and you see New York, you see Illinois, you see Oregon. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And then you point out, hey, I noticed it's still, oh, right, sorry about that. And then it says, we've removed it now. You look at the data again. Nope, it's still there. So even with, I would equate it to a frontline employee. I would equate it to a, maybe an intern who's learning the ropes. You have to check their work. It is not the brilliant supercomputer experience that it often gets presented as. So we use it that way. We also use it for podcast editing. We use it for doing the normalizing of the audio and removing background noise. Two what could be time-intensive things are very quick things. And the funny thing about this is we were using it for that before ChatGPT ever existed. Like we've been using it for that probably since 2019. So even before COVID. And that's just a great first step for editing audio for a podcast. Other than that, we really don't use it. There's just not, there are some technical stuff too, like, hey, this broke on a website, or we're having this error, can you help us diagnose it? Like other small things like that are collaborative, but there is no like, press this button and kablam, wow, look how amazing this end product or end result is. It just doesn't work that way. So understand that how we're seeing AI used today and how we're seeing the output of it as mostly AI slop. When I say slop, we're talking about lowest denominator kind of content. I think of like AI podcasts. I think of fake videos. I saw one of an overweight man in like a all-you-can-eat buffet who was screaming that there wasn't enough food. It's fake, by the way. It's a fake video, but someone made this to get clicks, to get engagement. So that is how I'm seeing it used. I just don't see it anywhere else. I see it nowhere else where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. I really don't. But we have companies that believe it's a game changer. And in a way it is. I don't want to I just did downplay it, but I don't think it's the revolution of work as we know it. Point being, job creation is almost zero. We have companies that have exploded in value. I think of NVIDIA, for example, who they make graphics cards, and they are a central partner to these AI companies, and their value has just exploded in the last few years. And I wonder where we're going with this. I've seen some content that has even asked the question, are we in an AI bubble? Similar to the dot-com bust in the early 2000s, which I was way too young to give any kind of proficient response about this. And, is it like that time? I will say it seems like it was a lot like that time. And I'm genuinely concerned with the state of our economy, with the state of our world, with the state of people's job security because of the instability of AI right now. So all that to say, now that I said I didn't want to doom and gloom, and now I've probably done exactly that, I want to encourage people who are listening to have a side hustle. And somebody texted me about this yesterday. He said, hey, I read because I made a post about this. He said, hey, I read your post. Legitimately, what are the options for someone? What are the options for someone to have a side hustle? I don't really know like what's worth it, what can make me money, like what should I be doing? So I want to speak to that directly. Because you may be thinking the same thing. You may be thinking like, what would I do as a side hustle? And when I say have a side hustle, here's what I don't mean. I don't mean have this is I think this is difficult for some people. People who are more creative, who are kind of cute with this whole thing. I'm not talking about you sell leather bracelets, at a pop-up table at the mall, which they wouldn't let you do that, but you sell leather bracelets that it's fun for you, or you do some little craft and you sell it for $1, and a good day is you made $12. Like I'm not talking about that. And I point this out because sometimes people are very creative and and I said cute, maybe cute's too condescending a term, but it's just like, yeah. When I say side hustle, what I'm saying is put on your business hat for a minute, think entrepreneurial, and think cash, think money. Think about the biggest bill you have in a month, or maybe the biggest bill that you have in the year that is not your mortgage. Okay. I mean, it could be your mortgage or your rent, but considering how expensive those things are, let's just set that aside from now. Think about your biggest expense in a year. Maybe it is a car payment. Maybe it is health insurance. Pretend for a moment that you spend $400 a month on health insurance, or you pay $200, $300 for a car payment, whatever the number is. Okay. Or let's say you spend $1,000 a month on groceries. Okay. A good side hustle is something you do on the side to remove the financial burden of that thing. A good side hustle generates you on the low end $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cash that you wouldn't have had otherwise, and that you can use to relieve the burden of one of those big bills. That is a very plain and simple side hustle. A better side hustle is something that's going to generate $10,000 to $15,000 in a year. The median income for an American is 61 or 64. We'll just say $60,000, $60,000 to $65,000 in a year. That's the median income. That's when you look at not the average, because the average gets brought up by people who are super wealthy. When we look at the median income, it's around $60,000 to $65,000 for an American. So if you can add $10,000 to $12,000, you are adding up to 10% on your year-end annual income. That is huge for some people. Getting a promotion at work, getting a raise even, is rarely more than 3, 4, maybe 5% if you're just crushing it. Rarely companies will give anything higher than that if it's a corporate company. So think about how valuable it is then to add an additional 10% to your income in a year. A good side hustle will do that for you. And then a great side hustle is generating $20,000 to $30,000 a year. And I'll give you some examples of this. Okay. Let's kind of go through those buckets. And then I'm going to, again, encourage you today to legitimately think about, how can I make some money on the side? How can I grow my side hustle? Or if you're in business right now, how can I grow my revenue? And I'll say that. So I'll say one thing really quickly for both those groups. Whether you're working a business now or you have a side hustle, you're focused on cash. What is going to generate me cash for whatever it is I'm selling? So I point that out because I would discourage you from doing any kind of consulting or coaching or just things that are intangible for many customers. It's a bit ironic coming from a guy who's a consultant. Anything that's intangible, and instead focusing on what's going to actually generate me cash. What's a service or product that I can sell and do? So if you're a small You're looking for that extra $3, $4, $5,000. That could be something you can craft or make. I have a friend of mine who's a woodworker. He does tables. He does tables, benches, food, what's it called? Cutting boards. And at one point it was around $3,000 or $4,000 in a year. Now it's his full-time thing. That's all he does now. But he would do a little bit on the side. It was a hobby. He enjoyed it, and it made him a little extra cash on the side. Okay. So doing something like that is totally fine. You can do, like moving up from there. My wife, Joy, she had a business called Culture Connection, where she's always loved language. She's fluent in Spanish. She's fluent in sign language, and she was doing lessons. Like, if you want to learn how to learn these languages, she was doing lessons. And that started at like $10 an hour. I think whenever she stopped doing it, I mean, she's had a couple of students, but when she was full-time doing it, I say full-time, when she had like maybe 15 students or 20 students, which, I guess was about, she had them, I guess, every other week. So about 10 hours in a week, I guess, maybe 15 hours in a week. That was around a $30,000 a year business. Again, it doesn't have to be this crazy hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's an extra 30K on your bottom line, which can be really great. But she took something she was passionate about and she found a way to sell it. So for you, think about something you have experience in that someone would pay for, and there is a proven history of someone paying for that thing. I say this for the people who are very creative and quirky, and you're like, oh, I've always loved taking twine and wrapping around light bulbs and doing like a twine hanging light thing. And it's always been fun. And it's just like this little thing that I do. That may be something you love, but is there a history of people buying something like that? Could you sell it? And more importantly, can you sell it in a way that it matches the level of effort involved? If you're hand making this and it takes you 20 hours to make one, and then you sell it for $20, something doesn't make sense there, right? But all that, respective of all of that, you have to remember you are in control of your financial future, and you can't rely on someone else to do right by you. That's not being cynical. It's not being negative. It's simply stating the fact you will never be more important than someone else's bottom line. So even when you work for a company that's kind and caring and they love you and they're awesome and they're good people and they're moral or what have you, at the end of the day, they will always make the best decision for their business to survive. And sometimes that will be in contradiction with your own ideal future and what you envision and your financial well-being and what have you. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to be in charge of your bottom line. You have to get after your financial future, and you can't wait. You can't wait until there's a crisis that forces this or something happens and there's urgency around it. I would say start today. And if you're running a business now and you're not making enough money and you're trying, but it's not clicking, ask yourself, why isn't it clicking? Why isn't it working? Is it a business model problem? Am I putting in the 20 hours for $20? Am I putting in all this time for not a lot of pay? Am I selling something that people have a history of buying? And I think that's a really important one. I talked about leather wristbands earlier, and it's because I had I had a guy reach out years ago. He was not a customer, but we were talking about us working together, and it was clear from the get-go this wasn't going to happen. But we were chatting about his business, and he was like, I sell leather wristbands with rhinestones. I put rhinestones in them, and it's like a cool little bedazzled leather wristband, and I sell it for like $15. And I was like, dude, you do not have the market for this. This does not match the level of effort that you're putting into this. Like, this is insane. It's nonsensical. So you have to change the product, or you have to change something about it. Or if I were you, I would just, you may be crafty. I would sell something people will pay a lot of money for, like a table, like a cutting board, like whatever, and not this crazy niche random thing. So again, you don't necessarily, it's not always about making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes it's just about adding an extra 10K on your year-end revenue. Hey, I hope this is helpful. Again, I can't stress enough. Don't wait on someone else to take care of you. You got to take care of yourself. You have to get after it for yourself. And as you find success, reach out and help other people up as well. That's really the heart and soul of this podcast. So, hey, thanks for listening today. I so appreciate you tuning into the Good Advice Podcast. And if you're a first-time listener, don't forget to subscribe and follow to the podcast. And as always, you can support the podcast on our Patreon, patreon.com/goodadvice. Really appreciate those of you who supported the podcast long-term and the businesses that have supported the podcast long-term as well. That's today's Good Advice. We'll catch you later. See ya.